Cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. But crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. No more. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone, welcome to Simracersworld TV for rounds 7 and 8 of the SRW BMW Trophy. My name is Hasse Rømer. I'm joined by the mad Norwegian, the dynamic Scandinavian duos in the house. It's Markus Gjesdal by my side, virtually of course, because let it be known, he is in Norway, I am in Denmark. But we are close and hard indeed, Markus, and close to your heart is Spa-Francorchamps, where we're racing tonight, and I think we're in for a good one here.
Thank you so much, Hasse. Yeah, really looking forward to this round here at Spa-Francorchamps. And I mean, we are close to each other. We are kind of sitting beside each other, considering that we are in neighboring countries. But quite some distance between us. Actually, a whole ocean, if you want to call it an ocean. But getting ready then to race at this 7-kilometer long circuit in Belgium, which is also, you touched on it, it's my favorite track in iRacing and probably in the world as well. So I'm really looking forward to see these guys go out here and scrapping for position.
Indeed, we've seen some really good racing so far this season, so no reason to believe we're in for, well, we wouldn't be in for more of the same here tonight. And just casting my eyes on these standings here, mind you, still just under 10 minutes to go of qualifying. I'm just going to go through the standings. At least the top of them, rather quickly. But Greg Franks is leading, and mind you, he hasn't really had any wins yet, but he's been really consistent. He's picked up 385 points. Sebastian Heberer, who's picked up a single win, but who's also been rather consistent, save a few races here and there, he's at 367 points. And Sam Baxter is on 337, a point ahead of Edward May, with 2 wins, but also a few races that's gone sort of awry for him. He'll be looking for the form that he had over the opening rounds coming into the 2 races of tonight. 5th in the standings is Michael Pedersen, who time and time again has shown his speed and his potential, but he also has been involved in an incident too many so far to really be up there at the top of the standings. However, with a few drop rounds as well, it's not, or with a single drop round, but that makes for 2 races, of course, because it would be a week's worth of racing that you're dropping out of. Michael could still be up there as well. Andrew Lovesey is up there as well in 6th. Paul Cook 7th. Oscar Wilkins in 8th, with James Salt and Chris Warner rounding off the grid. And Chris Warner has had a few races where he didn't show up, but he's been mighty fast indeed every time he's been here. And here in qualifying as well, so far, he is the provisional pole sitter, Markus.
Yeah. You have that spot on. Chris Warner, who is currently fastest with about 200ths of a second, which is not very far away from Michael Pedersen at all in the P2. But you mentioned Greg Franks was leading the championship right now, and he's really a living example of you have to be consistent in order to actually be able to win anything in the championship. Ed May has had really strong sprint races, and he's had really strong opening rounds every now and again. But Alton Park is a good example of how you lose a championship rather than winning it. And if he wants to have a shot at this championship for the next few rounds, in 2 weeks we'll be in Sebring, and then we have another 3 rounds of racing. He has to be able to score points consistently and beat out Greg Franks in order to have a chance at winning the title again.
Yeah.
But
oh, sorry.
We still have a few rounds left, so there's chances for, I think, every driver at least in the top 10.
Yeah, indeed, so it's a good point. 2 weeks from now, we'll be heading to Sebring, and then the last 3 destinations of this series have yet to be announced, and they'll be following the season calendar for the VRS series next season. And also means the drivers will have setups available for them, up for grabs, and that is going to be a help indeed. So far, Markus, we've seen a field really close together. Looking at the intervals between the drivers, it's 200ths of a second between Chris Warner and Michael Pedersen at the moment. We've got just 100th of a second between that's both Bud Boland and Oscar Wilkinson, 3rd and 4th as well, super close to one another. 6 more hundredths of a second down to Sam Baxter, so under a 10th, and then 2 tenths down to Edward May. But also further down the field, in the middle of the silver class at the moment, things are very close. And if the drivers' race pace are going to be like the qualifying pace we're seeing right here, right now, we're in for some truly magnificent racing here, I think.
Yeah, this is probably the closest you'll get to DTM or touring car racing with rear-wheel drive cars in iRacing, because now we have this single make class, and no BOP or any cars that are favored on different tracks. So it really shows, especially on these high-speed tracks like Spa-Francorchamps as well, which is known for high speeds and really dangerous corners sometimes. It really gets distance close between them. We saw this at Alton Park as well, that being said, but I think we're going to see that difference even smaller in this round.
Indeed. And the slipstream playing its part here at Spa as well, with the Camel Straight. Greg Franks getting to the end of that. And then, of course, the big run down the Paul Frère Straight as well, coming down towards Blanchiment. Those two zones of the track make it very difficult if you haven't been able to really forge a gap for yourself through the middle section, which is really where differences can be made here at Spa. You might find it very, very difficult to break away from the opposition. Of course, these GT3 machines aren't that affected by the slipstream. It's not like the Radicals or an LMP2 or something like that, but it does make a difference. And if it makes a difference, it makes a difference here at Spa indeed.
I think the slipstream is going to be coming in handy for a lot of the guys back in P2, 3, and 4. The guy who has pole position is probably going to be in the worst position, actually. So Chris Warner could be looking for getting attacked into Les Combes early on. Also, this car has a lot of aerodynamics. It can't be hidden at all. You can see in the splitter here, it's huge, it's massive. The rear wing as well is massive, and the diffuser as well. You can't miss it, and it's a car that looks a lot better than a production car, that being said as well. But even though this is a high-speed track with long straights, it has really, really tricky corners like Campus, which we're seeing now from Dirk Reski going to Stavolo here. You have to have the turning in the car, and that can be hard with the dirty air, which is an effect of riding in the slipstream of a car in front.
That's a very good point indeed. A point I want to get across is the point to welcome you all and to say just how nice it is to have you tuning in to the SRW BMW Trophy alongside me and Markus. And of course, a word of gratitude to our sponsor for this series, Abruzzi Racewear, making it all possible. A link to their webpage is, of course, in the description. Go check it out whenever it fits. We do have a small break in between the sprint and feature races of this series, which brings me on as a perfect sort of little segue to just mention the differences between the two races that we'll be having tonight. For any newcomers who haven't seen any of the other races, the sprint race, 30 minutes, no fuel limits, and no fast repairs as well. Of course, grid order decided by the qualifying session that we're having right about now. And that takes us to the feature race, 45 minutes, 50% fuel cap, which means the drivers are usually able to do around 30 minutes of running on that sort of fuel. And a single fast repair for the 45-minute race, with the grid order being decided by a reverse starting order for the top 10, and then the rest of the field as it ends the sprint race. And it's made for some truly fascinating racing so far, Markus, that the sprint race winners, which are usually the fastest couple of drivers getting out there out and ahead with a good grid position as well, really having to see him battle through the field, through the top 10. It's made for some epic stuff so far in the feature races. Yeah,
we've seen it time and time again. The second round is usually the most chaotic in all senses, as the sprint race is usually the one that has the grid mixed on pure pace. Speaking of pace, Bud Bolen now currently the fastest driver out on track with a 2:17.4, only 100 off the lap time from Chris Warner. Chris Warner was also track extending a little bit here, parking in the grass. Good festival tradition there. But really looking forward to this race and how this is all going to play out, and especially looking at the championship. I think Ed is really looking forward to having a defensive and a passive round for the sprint race. He was very, very aggressive in the opening lap of Alton Park, but he came back around and beat him.
Well, it did indeed, and we'll have to see just how he approaches this one. I had a word with him the other day. He said Spa, he doesn't feel like he's as strong as some of the tracks we visited, especially the two opening rounds, which took place at two of his favorite venues indeed. where he was very strong. Here we got the checkered flag out, by the way, Michael Pedersen. I don't think he did anything specifically particular with that last lap. So Ed May might just be looking to pick up his steady points today. We'll have to see just how it goes. We got a few cars still out on track. Here is Jeremy de Boever for sim racing team Claude Ball. He's
currently P5 in silver class as well.
P5 in silver. That's a respectable performance from the Belgian. Maybe home advantage has a bit of a part to play here.
Maybe he's been out here cycling a little bit. I know this is a popular spot for some national cycling rounds every now and again. At least I've seen a few pictures sometimes when I've tuned into Eurosport and been astonished by seeing some famous Formula 1 tracks. But this is a little bit more than 2 wheels. Got 4 wheels on these cars and no cycling, so I think Jeremy is going to be in the right spot here at his home venue.
Well, indeed, a lot of bike races having visited Spa-Francorchamps over the years. The Tour de France having had a stage finish here, where they came down the way, down the hill up from Radillon and through Eau Rouge at great speed indeed, to finish at the endurance. So they didn't do La Source. I think they went off. Did a round, came back, and then over the old start-finish line back there.
The public round, yeah. I can't imagine going up through Radillon and Eau Rouge is going to be a lot of fun on the bike, especially considering the speed difference. No. I'd much rather do it in a BMW M4 than a normal bike without an engine. It's not even considered a bike.
Let's see here. Jeremy de Boever is going to cross the line. Is it going to be an improvement for him?
Still P14 here by the looks of it.
A tenth off, Markus. So that's going to be it. I think that's going to be the end of the session. Let's see if we can get the grid order on your screens sooner. Well, rather than later. Would hope it would come sooner rather than later. But it's waiting, and it's letting us wait for a moment. It's letting you wait for a moment as well. And for that, I do apologize. But an interesting qualifying session, as we mentioned earlier, upon small margins pretty much throughout the field. We have 28 drivers lining up, so a slightly reduced field compared to some of the earlier rounds so far. But that shouldn't hamper us too much anyways. We shouldn't be robbed of good racing nonetheless. So it should be said. I'm a bit surprised that it's taking the session this long to tick over really here. Usually it does so a little bit quicker. My apologies. And I will ease the waiting by cueing in some music.
Is that the sirens in the background?
And the sirens, they're coming for me again. They're coming for me. It's not the first time. It's because things tend to get hot in here with the TV, computer running, and 2 screens and all this stuff, and I'm sitting here. And I like to keep my window open. But I'm living in a big... Oh, what do we have it? Just getting caught off there because more important things are happening on screen right about now. Finally, the grid deciding to show up. Bart Boland for Simracersworld Esports in pole position ahead of Chris Warners for Chris Warners. There is only one of him, but he is in second place on the front row for Fury Simsports. Then Michael Pedersen for SimRacingLove.com Volante Simsport. And his teammate Oscar Wilkins in 4th. Sam Baxter for Fury in 5th. With his teammate Edward May in 6th place on the grid ahead of Seb Hebera and John Barnes, Andrew Lovesey. Then Paul King in 10th place. We got Andrew... We have Greg Franks down in 11th. Oh my word, that's going to be a bit of a tough one for him to defend. The championship leader indeed. Then Paul Cook 12th. And Nils Manschanten in 13th place for Ignium Motorsports. Jeremy de Boever is in 14th and Nelson Inacio 15th ahead of Paul Gosling, Luke Schneider, Hassan Arafat and James Hopton with Will Hunt 20th. Look out for him. He's been spectacular so far this season and always a provider of some great racing around him indeed. Dirk Rescue 21st, Gavin Thomas, Ben Llewellyn and Philip Hopley is 24th. And then we have Sandra Ballesteros, 25th. James Hall, 26th. Mark Lewis, who's now joined Holy Cow Racing in 27th place. And Bradley Brockis for E-Team Brit in 28th.
This is a great grid that we are witnessing in this round of the SRW BMW Trophy. definitely looking forward to seeing how this first lap is going to play out. La Source is going to be a critical spot for a lot of drivers. Very tight first corner, and then you have to kind of get into the groove a little bit and settle single file once you go into a Rouge and Radio for the first time. Could be that we see some problems, at least on the exit of Radion, and a Slipstream Fest coming down into Lacon for the first time, I'm sure.
Let's hope it's not going to be too much of the bad stuff. Not too much of the good stuff. We can't have too much of the good stuff here. But let's hope we see... Let me just put it this way. Let's hope we see everyone safely through Radio and all the way down the Camel Straight. And there's a thing with the Camel Straight, and I think it's a sim racing related thing, probably with the field of view being very narrow. And this, you know, it's absolutely flat out, and you hardly even think about the fact that there is a kink when you do the track alone. But if you're 2 or 3 wide at that point, it becomes very tricky indeed, and you have to be very, very mindful of your line through that camel kink. We so often see huge accidents there. So my fingers are crossed. I will not knock on wood, because if I do so, I have a dog that will by quite a good probability start barking the hell out of here. And I don't
We have
do
a
that.
second race as well, Hasse, so I think we will have more than enough chaos as we get onto the starting line here.
Indeed, we're about to go green here, round 7. The sprint race here from Spa-Francorchamps, and Bart Boland is taking it all away here. Chris Warner second, then Michael Pedersen and Oscar Wilkins. And Edward May is already trying to get up the inside here, making moves.
Small touch there from the Volante Racing car, but no cars turned around from that. I take that back as we have Jeremy de Boever, I think, going into the pits there. No, he's straight again. But quick round around from him. Up through Rouge and Radio for the first time as well. And look at this, Michael Pedersen from Volante Racing. And there's a car backwards after the exit of Radio, going backwards into the side barrier.
It's Franks!
Oh no! Championship leader then with some championship implications. He's last now, all the way in the back for Greg Franks.
That is a small disaster, to be honest. Here's Michael Pedersen takes the lead. The Dane in the number 7 car goes ahead of Bart Boland.
Absolutely sending it on the first stage here. The Dane, Michael Pedersen in the 7. Getting chased now from Bart Boland as we get the replay from Franks, as we see him going backwards into the tire barrier there.
This is the move from Pedersen, and you can see the other Volante car of Oscar Wilkins trying to get the move done on Ed May, or is it the other way around here, coming into and then down towards through Lecombe, of course, into Malmedy, and there's still too wide here. Oscar Wilkins, Ed May, look at this incredible racing in the bit of
him.
argy-bargy even there.
Perfect racing in the opening lap here, and I'm all for elbows out, and it's not over the limit at all. I don't think this is perfectly acceptable, and we need this kind of racing a little bit, as we have another car backwards there in Brussels.
Yeah,
Seb Herber as well, going wide out of no name.
Luckily, it's not backwards. It would have been bad for him as well. But both of the drivers atop the championship standings here for the sprint race, seemingly in a troubled position, as we have Michael Pedersen leading Bart Boland, Chris Warner, Edward May, and Oscar Wilkins.
Lunging.
And look at Oscar Wilkins here on the outside of Ed May into the bus.
Oh, he's gonna get around!
Net-coated.
Yep.
Net-coated indeed.
Net-code.
That was a proper netcode if ever I've seen one.
I think what happened is that Edward didn't want to give enough space there for Oscar and forgot that there's another car there and just turned over his nose.
You could say the netcode comes in handy because it's going to relieve any of the drivers of getting damage. But even without the netcode, I think they would have made contact eventually anyways. But the netcode apparent in that situation, and look at here, Bart Boland getting attacked now by Chris Warner. And Warner is trying to go the long way around, but of course that outside line here into the comp quickly becomes the inside, and Bart Boland pulls out of it indeed, and doesn't want to lose time to Oscar Wilkins as well, who's down in 4th place here. Ed May just lost another position, I think, here. Or is it the other way around? Did he gain a position on Luke Schneider?
I think even if it doesn't have any actual damage on the car, I think the damage has already been done, considering the fact that he got spun around back in P13. Then for the previous championship leader, even worse championship implications for the guy who was actually leading the championship when we got into this round, which is Greg Frank, who's now in 27th.
As you can see, the overtake done from Chris Warner. Slightly different view. Does seem like he has a bit of a pace advantage here. Seb Heber at 10th place at the moment. And in between, well, he's behind Paul King, the Ignium Gold driver. But we do also have the top 3 silver drivers ahead of these folks here at the moment. So a little bit of a driver's class mix-up there at the moment. But it doesn't really seem to hamper them too much. But Hebra suffering. Let's see here at Main, 13th place. He's going to want to get past that blinking holy cow car. Very colorful they are. I've mentioned it before, but I do like the holy cow racing livery. Looks very good indeed. Here is Ed May. Almost gives a bit of a nudge. That was a slightly naughty move from Ed May there. And Blanchemont's always a dangerous place to go for the overtake. But Luc Schneider, the leading bronze car indeed, just as well got out of the way of that one, and
very close.
Cost him an incident point, but no more than that. And one he had a good reason to take.
I don't think this is very smart driving from Edward May. He's very high risk right now, trying to get back the positions he lost. As we see another incident here with Oscar, the exit of Stavalo.
A bit of a slide there.
But if Ed is going to keep driving like this for the remainder of the race, I think he can have a short-lived race one. So needs to be a little bit more careful with some of these passing spots, like Blanchimont. Doing that again could easily result in 2 cars going into the barrier. And I'm saying that because I've done that myself in some of these official races, and it sucks every time that you end up looking right at the tire barrier.
Yeah, here's Paul Cook fighting his way back from a bad start as well. Regaining positions up through the bronze driver field at the head of the field. Overall at the moment, still Michael Pedersen, still ahead of Chris Warner, Bud Boland, Oscar Wilkins and Sam Baxter. That's as it was last time around. And we do have a bit of a split here. It's not much, but it's a little. It's around 0.6 of a second splitting Michael Pedersen from Chris Warner. A 1.5 seconds, then down to Bud Boland, and further second down to Oscar Wilkins. Sam Baxter here, just 0.5 seconds off the Dutchman ahead, so he could really start to put on the pressure. The thing about Spa is obviously also going to be the tire wear, especially on the left-hand side of the car, given that you have a few fast right-handers here indeed. But we'll see who are able to conserve tires as well. We've seen it be a thing throughout the series in the earlier rounds, especially of course in the feature races. With the added duration, look here, Sepp Heberer getting really close to the car ahead.
I think we're looking at a fight for P1 very shortly. Chris Warner, who was slapping a little faster than Michael Pedersen every time. 2/10 difference now over the line. So something we're going to keep an eye on for sure as we follow this fight with our German friend Sebastian Heberer, who's also organizer for this this series. As we have James Houghton now making a move, probably trying for P15 into La Source. The exit here. Oh, somebody taking a performance off track if I've ever seen one, and that's our Dutch friend Hassan Arafag, who's also we can say this is his home track really, because it's very close to the Netherlands.
That far away indeed. This in the Wallonian part of Belgium, which would mean it's south of Flanders, but still relatively westward, so also pretty close to France, but also close to Germany, and it sits right at a European crossroads, you could say, a little like the Nürburgring does. It's not too far from the Nürburgring, as a matter of fact. If you're in a car, I believe it's It can be done in about 2 hours or 2.5, if I'm not completely mistaken. I could be wrong indeed, and have just heard something that turns out to be completely bogus. What doesn't turn out, or what hasn't turned out to be completely bogus, Markus, is the fact that Chris Warner is gaining on Michael Pedersen. And look at the car, Michael Pedersen there. He's has it taken a little bit of a punch to the front end? I think it has, and that might be compromising his performance ever so slightly here. And it's going to make it very hard for him to defend from Chris Warner, who's been flying so far this race.
If he gets a good exit now, he can have a chance going into the bus stop, the new bus stop that is. But it's a very good point that you make there, Hasse, considering the damage to the front end of Michael Pedersen's car. That splitter will not work as efficiently as it did before the race. And we see here, Michael then, he has a good enough gap from Chris Warner, so he doesn't have to quite go on the defense. But this is looking very good for Chris Warner so far, but as you say in the other rounds, one thing is catching up, but another one is to actually go for the pass as well and make it successful without taking yourself out.
Let's see this time around as they come up through Radion and so forth, Rouge, Radion and so forth up here towards the Camel Straight, which is, I would expect Chris Warner to be within striking distance here if he gets a good run. We'll have to see here. I'm afraid we've had quite an excursion off track for Jeremy de Boover alongside one of the Ignium cars as well.
Yeah.
Gavin Thomas, I think that is.
It's a Lycom incident for you. Very unsuccessful, or very unlucky, I mean, for our Belgian friend.
You can see Philip Hopley. Oh, just about sneaking through there in the H Motorsport car. That was nice.
Oh, another car had a very massive oversteer moment coming out of the corner there. So these guys are really on the limits, trying to get the most out of these cars here, even up on the curbs as far as they can to get some rotation in the car from the curb, and doing everything they can to get these lap times below 2:18.
Yeah, indeed. We go on board with Chris Warner, second place, as he's bringing the pressure to Michael Pedersen. But the Dane is a fighter indeed, and one to die with the boots on, which means that Chris Warner has to be thoughtful about how he tries to approach this one. You can see Michael Pedersen making sure he meets all the apexes and making sure that he doesn't make any mistakes on corner exit, because as you said, it is true here at Spa, you do have plenty of overtaking opportunities, but if you play your cards right, you can really also defend and hold on. We've seen Michael Pedersen so far at least being able to do so, and I would just like to know just how much top speed he is losing with that front end damage. Is it more on the drag side, or is it because he's losing downforce? It's hard to really say here, as I think we got an early pit stop.
Thought I heard someone. Oh, there we go.
Oscar Wilkins here into the pit lane.
That's early and not really necessary in this race, so something's happened to him.
Something has indeed happened to Oscar Wilkins. We'll see if we can see who's alongside Bud Boland here as he gets.
That's awkward. That's awkward.
That's very awkward indeed. What happened there? I
think that's a good typical example of not checking your blind spots a little bit. Bot is trying to go for the defense, I think, as Oscar is moving to the outside there and then miscalculates and hits the passenger door of the 33, and that's put him in the pits and probably out of contention for this race. Some pretty hefty tolling damage to that car, I reckon.
And somehow Bud Boland, as you can see here, he actually got away with that.
I know, look at his rear wing. It's
he did not get away with that.
Left door as well.
Yeah, he did get a bit of damage, but it could have been much worse. He could have been hard in the wall. I think the damage he sustained when making contact with Oscar Wilkins' car. That doesn't mean that it can't put you off or put the car off performance-wise. That is a good point. Could we look at that indeed.
I'm sorry. Could we look at that from Sam Baxter's view? Because I think he was right behind him at the time the incident happened. So this is Oscar that we're following live on board.
Yeah, I wanted
And
to
looks
go
like-
on with Sam Baxter actually, but I would have to do like this and like this.
There we go. Yeah. So going defense there, and they just kind of meet in the middle. I think there's a netcode going on there, a racing incident pretty much, which has caused these cars to be pretty magnetic. Look at Sam also missing his apex. They're getting all interested in what's happening in front of him. Unlucky break for both Bod and Oscar for sure. And Oscar's gonna have a Michael Pedersen race in round 2, sure.
I think you're right there on the netcode. It's not the first netcode we've seen tonight, and it would explain, because to me it didn't seem like the cars were really within that, like, of course they were within touching distance obviously, but they weren't really in touching course, you could say. There was none. They didn't seem to be on a collision course. Here comes, oh, is that Edward Mace with an absolute... Look at
him a dummy.
But that is the dummy of dummies from Edward May on Paul King. Let's have a look here. He goes all the way out there, and just as he goes to defend, he swings to the inside, chucks it in.
This is the kind of aggression we need from Edward May. No passing in Blanchimont, but these dummies that he's selling people in La Source, exactly the stuff we need from him
Oh, look at
behind.
behind.
Oh, in the grass there as well. The 150 car of Luke Schneider, who's he's really in contention with the top runners today. He's almost in the top 10, and that's pretty good for a bronze driver.
He's doing very well for himself, Luke Schneider. It's a pleasure to see indeed. He's actually well up the silver running order. He'd be 5th in silver at the moment if he wasn't silver, and he's got a comfortable gap down to Ben Llewellyn, who's 2nd in bronze. 15.8 seconds at the moment. Up ahead though, Michael Pedersen, as we've had our focus elsewhere for a few minutes here. It's a status quo. They're still very, very close here. We haven't seen any switching of positions, but it's not the first time we've seen Chris Warner play a patient game here, Markus. I think he could be just waiting, biding his time, saving his tires, and going for a move later in the race.
Yeah, I think we've ended up in this critical transportation stage right now, saving your stuff for later. As long as he has at least 80% left of his car, I think he'll use the remaining 80% in the last few minutes of this race. But right now, it's all about conserving and taking care of your tires and make sure that you have enough for the attack on the end.
Here goes Paul Gosling. Oh, looking to get a run on the Ignium car. But I think he comes in a little too quickly, actually, into the bus stop, though. I might be wrong, though. Into Blanchimont, of course, I'm sorry.
Stays back.
It stays behind. Yeah, but if he got a better move from Blanchimont there, he would be able to get the run. But it was like he had to go off the throttle coming out of Blanchimont because he was so close indeed.
Let's see if he's learned anything from Ed in the last lap here. Oh, he isn't telling him a dummy we're trying to dive on the inside here, so Ed's setting a good example. I would probably do the same move as Ed did the last lap, but the guy's back, not doing the same risky moves. Paul Gosling, who's still in 4th in silver, P11 overall. So we have Jeremy de Boever coming into the latter stages of the lap, passing before Blanchimont. I think that's a good example of aero damage on the car behind there. Almost looked like. Oh, look at Luke Schneider on the inside here of Lecombe. Oh, is he gonna hold it? He's around.
He's gonna take it through Malmedy, I think, or if not through Malmedy, then he should have it in Brussels, but he gets a bad exit.
Luke Schneider is without a doubt on fire today. The German or the Dutch driver. I mean, I'm sorry about that, Luke. If you're looking at this back, at least he's looking at this broadcast after the end, I'm sure, as we have the 2 leaders as well in the Campus corners. I must say, though, Hasse, what a race we've been treated with so far. I'm really looking forward to the sprint race or the feature race as well with the added pit stop. I think that's going to add a really exciting element into this round at Spa.
Absolutely so. And your overall top 10 at the moment, Michael Pedersen and Chris Warner still locked in this top flight fight at the moment. Sam Baxter 3rd, but Boland After picking up damage earlier in the race, he still sits 4th ahead of John Barnes, who leads silver, Andrew Lovesey, who's 2nd in silver, and Nils Manchanten for Ignim as well, who's 3rd in silver. 8th overall is Seb Hebra, 9th overall Edward May, 10th overall at the moment is Paul King.
So we know that Michael Pedersen and Oscar Wilkins are sitting in private chats while they're racing. They don't want to have any disruptive communication going on while they're racing. But do you think that Chris Warner and Ed may probably brief each other a little bit on where they're making their moves to try and plan out where the best spot for Chris to attack Michael is?
That could be a thing. But at the same time, it's... I feel sometimes where the best move is it differs from who you're racing against, and a driver like Michael Pedersen could be stronger coming into a certain corner than whoever Edward May has been racing in there before. So maybe it's a tough call to make. And at the same time, I think it's also going to be a tough time to have a full chat going on while you're racing there, but it. Sure, they could be on team comms, and we've seen it many times before, especially also in the Simracersworld NASCAR series, just how well, for instance, a race restart can be orchestrated with the team radio.
John Barnes then. We're switching back to him on his screen. He's in a fight with Andrew Lovesey right now, coming into a no-name at the moment. We're on lap 9 out of this 30-minute sprint race. And this is for P5 at the moment, going into Poolhan as well. A little gap between the two, so I think Andrew is struggling a little bit to try and keep on with John for first place in silver. 777, who's holding him off in the Quantum Racing. Back then to James Hall, which is fighting with Philip Hopley for 21st. No, Jeremy de Boer, I'm sorry. And Jeremy in 20th right now. He hasn't had the best of races at his home track, and probably wants to look at coming stronger back in the race too. As we see, I think he's actually getting for a move there, James Hall, just as we were cutting away. Can't see anything on the timing screens. I think that. Oh yeah, no, they're getting really close into the Capis corners. James is eyeing his opportunities here to climb a little bit up in the spot. You can see Jeremy's struggling so much with the car that he has. A lot of aero damage in the front, a lot of aero damage in the back. He's really not able to compete with the lap times from his class even, I don't think. Almost a whole second off. So I really want this race to get over quick here. Jeremy de Boer.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
over to the side here.
Yeah, there's going to be no defending this one. Down Paul Frère and into Blanchemont.
Is it gonna? No. Oh, they are almost. that's a orchestrated let by, if you can say it like that. Almost hits his rear quarter panel at the exit of Blanchemont. The 88 then, which we were following for a small second as we go back to the 84, following his teammate Will Hunt. A driver who got a lot of our attention in Imola for sure, but hasn't been quite as explosive so far.
No, we haven't seen that much fireworks from Will Hunt, but I think he'd probably like to have it this way anyway and have the car in one piece at the end of the race. 13th place, he's 5th in silver at the moment, and it also goes to show that his performances seem to be improving from race to race at the moment. Will Hunt, who's a driver with real-life track experience, but is fairly new, as far as I understand at least, to iRacing. And of course, it does make sense that you'd be able to translate your real-life experience into something useful here in iRacing. However, I do also know that a lot of real-life drivers have been struggling with getting to grips with the sim and just how you have to be able to extract more information out of the force feedback from the wheel and the visual inputs on screen, and you don't really have that the behind sensor, as Hans-Joachim Stuck would have called it, and just how that can be difficult to cope with.
I think a lot of it is from if you've been karting since you were 6 years old, you learn to drive a car completely differently from if you start with sim racing and then go into cars. Your body learns how to respond to G-forces in a different way, and it also start learning how the car gets affected by different things in the track, etc. So suddenly getting into an environment where you're not getting the same feedback as you would in a real car, it really unsettles a lot of drivers, and they're like, how do we even do this? I mean, I have to learn how to drive this car completely new again. There's this story about the Formula 1 commentator back here in Norway who tried it a little bit and didn't think much of sim racing at all because it was hard to drive it, and he didn't figure it out quite immediately. And then his teammate, they do the VLN championship in real life with the RS3 LMS TCR car. He set up the car for him at Nürburgring with the setup that he uses for iRacing. And our commentator friend from Norway, he went out there and did quite a few laps in the TCR and started figuring it out because the track was so similar to real life, and the car as well was acting the way that he expected it to. So I think a lot of it comes from familiarity as well as just having the experience from sim racing maybe a little bit earlier.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, look at this here, Nelson Ignacio. We saw him a few seconds back. Just a few minutes ago. He's now right on the tail of what is effectively the battle for 5th place in silver, or the battle for 13th overall. But it's heating up here, the 27 Motorsports car.
I think Pedro Ferreira Gomez will have a hoot right now, watching his friend Nelson Ignacio scrapping for the positions. He was cheering for him at the session start, at least, as we have spin around in Pujon. Pedro Ferreira Gomez. I think that was a closer representation of his actual name rather than my first attempt. The Portuguese friend, anyways. Very close to Will Hunt now, entering Blanchimont. As we switch over to the battle from P10, we see the 3 other trios in the background there. So then very close to Will Hunt, but I think that's going to be quite a fight for him to try and get past our Will Hunt here, who's living up to his last name, to say the least.
Yeah, but here comes James Hopton, actually. Look at this, the late braking move on his teammate. Will Hunt playing the perfect teammate game there, not challenging James Hopton at all in that situation. It might be so that James Hopton having a bit of a pace advantage on Will Hunt here, and he's made the switch for Will Hunt in turn to be able to hold up Nelson Ignacio behind and to enable his teammate to run away here. Mind you, less than 4 minutes remaining of this race. Now here's Milsman Schattlis going around the outside for 2nd place in silver, 6th overall. Into Le Comte Malmedy, just around, just about keeps it. Seb Herbera must be fuming there as he's being held up behind. He's falling into the clutches of Edward May now.
It's a few German swear word for sure. Almost running into the back of the 777 of John Barnes, but keeping it steady. His parking sensor probably going off, telling him that he's a little bit too close to the car in front. 26 minutes of racing then, Hasse. We're getting really close to the end as well, so I think we're going to start seeing some moves now as people have been conserving tires and cars for the 12 laps that we've been racing for.
Yeah, look on board with Hebera here as he's going to try to get past. Of course, a decisive move here could be all important for Hebera, 2nd in the overall standings. And Greg Franks 16th at the moment. That means he will be starting 16th as well, unless he's able to claw his way back up through the field here over the last minutes. But it doesn't really look like it's going to be a possibility for him here. Seb Hebera still close to John Barnes ahead. Had that. Just as I say that, I looked over to change the TV view. And,
look at Ed May though.
And he gets so close. Ed May is caught up. That has closed the gap And I think it's due to the silver drivers causing a bit of a hold-up for Seb Hebera. But Seb Hebera has been suffering a bit with his pace here at Spa tonight. And didn't have a good qualifying session either. He hasn't been able to really climb up the field how we've seen in some of the other races. But it could put them in a very good position for the feature race, though.
From the racing that he's done so far, I think he's going to go full send on the German friend in the front here. Both of these being colleagues as well. As we're really heating up now for the lead.
Chris Warner's trying to find a way through on Michael Pedersen, but the Dane is holding out with nails and claws and whatever limbs he can hang on to. He's trying just to keep Chris Warner in behind in the Fury car, and they have yet to make any sort of contact, I think, as they come through Pouhon here, and the next lap will be the last they do here.
Yet to make is probably the best description of this fight so far.
Well, I cannot predict the future, but with two cars this close, it doesn't take much to make it heartbreak, and we've seen this so many times before, and I'm certainly just fingers crossed that we'll see both of these cars cross the line. Well, in either way, position 1 or 2, they could make the switch here, but it's going to be late. Perhaps great for Chris Warner.
Are we on the last lap right now, or
30 seconds, Markus. I think they're going to make it across here down towards Blanchemont.
So one more lap then, possibly.
I think it's
guys.
one more lap. 20 seconds here, which they are going to make it.
Oh, look, he's defending here from Michael Pedersen. He knows Chris is looking for an opportunity here.
But he breaks in a straight line that just closes the door ever so slightly, and very intelligent defending from Michael Pedersen. And he's been really good at doing this, defending his line, defending his space, but without taking any excessively defensive lines, and he's been able to get good exits all around, which has kept him ahead for so far so long. Here goes Sebastian Hebera with a double overtake. Perhaps Edward May coming through as well.
This is amazing racing so far from these guys at SW BMW Trophy Challenge race. BMWs all around. I mean, it's cars everywhere. I love this racing. It's door banging. It's everything that we need. This is DTM for sure, if it ever was DTM. But no, it's not, because it's the BMW Trophy Challenge on SRW with the new BMW M4 prototype. Look at this move from Seb Hebera, sending it from way back. And then Ed May looking at this opportunity to undercut the 777 for the position in front, which is P9, and they're still fighting here, duking out positions.
Yeah, he's gonna go for it this time around. Edward May knows it's the last time and knows it's the last lap. He has to get through. Golden opportunity here. He might try for the inside into Malmedy, but so far John Barnes has been defending this really well. We're gonna head up here with the leading battle as well, because Michael Pedersen's still holding on to it here through Pouhon. It's Chris Warner second, and it's been so for a long time indeed. And I'll tell you what here, Markus, I think Michael Pedersen at this time, he'll be having worked up a sweat. Heavy concentration. And to be fair, I haven't seen Michael Pedersen make a single mistake so far this race, which has allowed him to keep the lead for so long. Here onto the pole first straight, Xing Stabilo 2. It's the final time around, Markus. He's got a great exit here. I don't think Chris can get it on him.
Yeah, bad exit for Chris Warner. Great exit for Michael Pedersen. I don't think he's going to be able to set it from so far back as well. Maybe that's what he's looking at, trying to get Michael to run a wider line here and then send it from way back. No, he's still going defensive here, Michael. He knows. And this is looking mighty good for the Dane, for sure. Going into the last corner here, winning the first race at Spa-Francorchamps and setting him in P10 for the feature race, flashing his lights here in Danish. For sure then. P2 for Chris Warner, and Sam Baxter, pretty anonymous this round. 2 spots up from his qualifying position. Ended up P3 then. Last podium position for the Brit. Bob Bolan, who was our pole sitter, had an astonishing first lap. A little skirmish with Oscar Wilkins in the mid-stage of the race. Finishes P4. Andrew Lovesey in P5. Niels Mountshausen, who also had a pretty alright race, to say the least, is in front of Seb Hebera, which we find in 7th, who made a really, really massive leap to the guys behind him. Edward May being the 8th finisher for this round. Paul Gosling in 9th. Paul King in 10th. And that's our top 10 for the first race.
Oh, that means Edward May got passed on John Barnes And what happened here?
Oh.
Oh, John Barnes had a spinner on the last lap.
That's something you usually see in the wets here at Spa in real life, not on a dry track surface like today.
Incredible indeed. Here, let's see if there are still drivers racing. The last couple of drivers are coming across the line to complete the race. Philip Hopley, Dirk Reski, and Mark Lewis still out there remaining.
Huge props to Oscar Wilkins as well for taking that car around and actually finishing the race after that skirmish with Bud Bolin earlier. And also a huge applause to Greg Franks for the recovery that he made up to P16 in this field. It's a very, very close field, so being able to go from last to P16 even with the retirements, I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, indeed. So we're gonna go over to a single interview here midways. Michael Pedersen sits ready in the booth, and we're gonna drag him in for a bit of a chat with Markus Gjesdal.
Michael Pedersen, that was some kind of a drive, to say the least. Leading from the start of this race and then managing to keep Chris Warner behind you for the end stage of this race. And tell us how excited you were finishing this round out.
I mean, I can't even begin to describe how nervous I was or how tense I was through this race. I mean, I knew I had some pace with like how practice went and stuff, so I knew I was in a good position. But these, I don't know, like from lap 5 or so, where he was just on me, was so intense. I'm so happy that I was able to finish ahead of him, but wow, he was quick.
Really putting yourself in a good spot in the championship as well now, especially if you can manage to squeeze out the most out of the second race as well here. But the last or the second race in these races have usually been the hardest for people winning the first race. And how do you think it's going to set you up for the feature race?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have that good a track record either with the reverse grid races, so this is definitely gonna be interesting. So, but no, I hope I've learned my lesson from these last ones. I'm just definitely gonna try to keep it a bit more cool throughout the opening laps to see what can evolve. But yeah, I'm hoping that I'm gonna be able to break the streak of the guys who do well in the sprint race usually do not do so well in the feature. That's for sure.
So a passive Michael Pedersen then for race 2.
Well, I wouldn't say passive, but controlled aggression, I guess, is the right way of saying it.
Controlled aggression then for the favorite Danish driver here, and also the only Danish driver in this championship so far. Congratulations on P1 in the sprint race, and before we wrap it out, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and of course I'd like to give a huge shout out to my team, Valenta Racing, as well as Sim Racing Loft for paying or making this championship possible for me. It's a huge, emotional support knowing that they've got my back as well. So it's great.
That was Michael Pedersen for your starting P10 in the second race, the feature race. So thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
So indeed, that was Michael Pedersen and Markus Gjesdal having a word. That's going to conclude part 1 of the broadcast. We're going to turn up the music, crank it up, and go to the Be Right Back screen that we have set up and waiting for you in order to let ourselves join the second race lobby. It's going to take a few minutes, though it won't be long. So it's a perfect chance to take care of whatever small things, maybe a bit of a trip to the kitchen or something like that for snacks. Or whatever. What do I know? The only thing I know is that we're going to be back in a few minutes with the feature race here. So, well, Markus and I will see you soon.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are bound. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are bound. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter. Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. You like a fill you like a pill to get my fill. No, do me in the worst way. Don't let me sleep. Never say you're sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Oh yeah.
cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the feature race here. Sorry for any, slight delays. We had a bit of a delay joining the second session, but we've joined it now. And we're just waiting for all the drivers to do so as well. As soon as we have everyone on, in the lobby, the session will be forward. And we'll have the start of the feature race coming up. 45 minutes of racing, a single pit stop to be done. Of course, they're not going to be taking tires, so it's a fuel-only stop. It's going to be a very short pit stop indeed. And we've seen it play a decisive part, a decisive role in races earlier this season. So expecting it to do the same here, Markus.
Yeah, so far, this part of the race has been my favorite for these rounds, and there's always been something going on in at least the first 2 laps. We had the massive pile-up on Imola when we had a new pole sitter then, and we had the massive pile-up in lap 2 and turn 4 of Silverstone, and then also massive pile-ups all around Alton Park in the feature race. So I think this race is going to be as, or not as chaotic, but it's going to be pretty close to it, and I think we're in for some really good action. I'm really looking forward for it.
Yeah, indeed, and the reverse grid order for the top 10 usually makes for some interesting racing, and as Michael Pedersen also said in the interview here in between, certainly a difficult one having to move up through the field because the top 10 always full of competent drivers. There might be a slight pace difference, but of course very equal cards given to the drivers concerning the one make series that this is, and of course that gives plenty of chance for everyone basically to defend their position, especially at the opening stages of a race like this. We saw some great racing as well in the feature, or in the sprint race, apologies, and it's certainly lived up to what we've seen so far this season and lived up to what we expected here at Spa, I think.
I do agree, and I'm really looking forward for this feature race. But while we have everyone here coming back with their snacks and after their short bathroom break after the eventful race 1, we do need to remind them of the red button on the bottom of the screen, which it says subscribe on, or abonner nå if you're Danish or Norwegian. And I recommend you pressing that button and hitting the thumbs up on this video here so that you can get tuned when we have more broadcasts, and you have a better overview of the series that SRW are broadcasting, Hasse. So why don't you take us through some of the content that people could look forward to if they subscribe now?
Oh, well, do my best. How is it? Thursdays we've got the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Championship with the 911 Cup cars and Chas Draken and Peter Mackay behind the wheels in that. We just finished the virtual Belcar Winter Series, but there will be more Belcar coming up soon, of course. Sundays we have a bit of a mix of things. On some Sundays we have the Apex Tech LMP2. I'm sorry, what am I? Was it GT? Getting confused here. LMP2, that is the Apex Tech League, and that's turned out to be a really good one so far as I understand. We also have the Sunday Drivers MX5 series on Sundays, and we have the Sunday GT Masters as well. So and that all alternates. Even they even clash from time to time, giving you a damn hard choice of just where to tune in, I suppose. On Mondays, we have the SRW Dynamics NASCAR series, which is very much worth a watch as well. Tuesdays brings you the SRW TCR series, which is indeed a good one. And that brings us to our wonderful Wednesdays here, Markus, with the BMW Trophy here on Simracersworld TV.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I like the BMW Trophy.
Don't you?
So watch that. If there's any series that you want to watch, it's this one. So every Wednesday, you know the time. It is announced at
Every
the beginning of
second.
the streams.
Every
Every
second.
second Wednesday. And if you press the subscribe button and the bell icon on the side, you will get a notification when we release these broadcasts, and you can stay in tune with the schedule. But we are getting ready for the feature race, which we are both very excited for. We also have a new pole-sitter, as far as I'm concerned, Paul King, in the... is it the 38? I can't see him on the timing screen right now, and I do not quite remember his number in my mind at the moment.
Paul King.
There he is, the 26. The 26 car, which will be our pole-sitter from Ignium Motorsport. My brain just having a total collapse there trying to pronounce that. And this will be a hoot, I reckon, especially with some of the really fast guys in the back of this field.
We've seen it before. It's an exercise of patience for those drivers having just finished atop the sprint race, and they really have to show a bit of constraint there. Michael Pedersen talking about it as well. He's had a few incidents in the feature races on the opening laps, maybe wanting a little too much, a little too soon, and of course he having a insight of self in the interview you just had with him, Markus. I think it was nice to hear that he also had those reflections about trying to optimize his points gain and making sure that he had a car that was still competitive for the decisive parts of the feature race as well.
I think he has a good plan for the second race, and he didn't want to be passive. He mentioned that, and he's going to be calculated aggressiveness. I think that was what he said. So we'll see how that plays out. We know I spoke a little bit with Edward May as well before he went back again. You didn't hear that, Hasse, but Ed was quite on fire. Let's just say that after the dummy that he sold one of the drivers on lap 3, and also the Blanchimont move. So a driver who was really keen on getting positions up here, and he had a little grudge against Michael Pedersen as well, if I'm not quite recall that correctly, after the incident on lap 1. But that's how racing is sometimes with cold tires and understeer. So these sort of things happen. It's a by-effect of racing, and it's also a good by-effect sometimes. It's supposed to be hard to be a race car driver. It's not supposed to be something that you can do right out of your living room, even though most of these guys are.
A good point indeed. Race director telling us that the race will be forward at the 12-minute mark, which means 20 seconds from now you'll see the session tick over, and we'll have the race session beginning. And as I said, not only the pit stops, the reverse grid order, but we've seen strategy come in as well, and we have seen examples on drivers pitting early and actually having quite a bit of success with it, but you have to be very calculated, trying to get out of the pits without any traffic. And if you can do so, well, there is certainly going to be time to be gained on those still battling away. Anyway, here we have it. The feature race indeed just about to start. A quick glance at the grid order here with Paul King, Paul Gosling, Edward May and Seb Hebra top 4, Nils van Schanten 5th, then Andrew Lufsey, Bud Boland, Sam Baxter, Chris Warner and Michael Pedersen rounding off the top 10. 11th is Judd Barnes, and 12th is indeed Luke Schneider. Then James Hopton, Nelson Ignacio, Will Hunt 15th, and Greg Franks in 16th place. With a mountain to climb in the feature race ahead of Ben Llewellyn, Paul Cook, James Hall and Jeremy de Boever in 20th. Then it's Philip Hubley, Dirk Rescue, Mark Lewis and Oscar Wilkins, also with a lot of ground to make up. And then rounding off the field for the feature race is Hasse Nadafak and Bradley Brockies indeed.
Going to be a huge challenge for Greg Franks to make his way up from P16, or it could be a really easy task actually, considering the mayhem we've had in these races. But we're hoping that it's going to be a lot cleaner than we've seen so far, as we see the Porsche 911 Cup car, safety car actually, is about to leave the straight here. About to move a little here and bring the field up to speed. A little flashing of the lights already here. People are eager to get racing after a short little delay in the session. And That's technical difficulties that can happen every now and again with iRacing and setting up these double servers, which we are doing here.
Yeah, that's how it
Great
is.
shot right here as well, coming through Blanchimont. We should use this in the race, Hasse, for sure.
But this is just the TV1. I think it chooses to go a little more zoomed out because there are so many cars in the view. But it is a lovely angle as well, coming down to the bus shop.
There's some damage. There's some damage on one of the cars here already. One of the Fury esports drivers.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, we
Chris
are
Warner.
getting the cars on the grid here, and the light is off, and we're green flag racing again for the
look at
second
that
time
man.
this evening. And Ed is on it for the win in the feature race.
Already.
On for the move.
Oh.
Oh, a lot of oversteer there on the exit. So far clean as well in the back here. No cars going backwards yet. We are yet to see if someone will coming into Rouge and Radio. We'll see here with the 777 and Luke Schneider in the 150. And going single file here. They know there's no point of going too wide here in the GT3 car. Cold tires really coming into play here as well as a lot of people taking performance off tracks of the exit of Radion, and a good and clean opening lap so far, Hasse.
Yeah, indeed. And Michael Pedersen now getting the run on Oscar Wilkins here, and he's gained 3 places so far in this opening lap, and he's finding plenty more easy pickings here. I think he gets a really good run on the Fury car there. He's going to send it into Brussels as well. Here comes Michael Pedersen up the inside, and he's going to gain the position there. And it's Sam Baxter on the outside. Baxter strong as well. He might be able to hold on in there, but no.
He did it.
He did it indeed, and now Sepp Heber is next up on the list, and everybody's on cold tires. You can see Michael Pedersen doing such a good job. Up ahead, it's still Paul King leading from Edward May, Paul Gosling, Andrew Lovesey, Sepp Heber, and then Michael Pedersen, Sam Baxter, Nils Mannschatten. I just stumbled across that one, didn't I? Chris Warner and Bart Boland rounding off the top 10 at the moment. They're up ahead of some fighting as well. Here comes Schneider.
Oh, he's on fire today. Luke Schneider is my driver of today, especially after that race one. The fastest bronze driver so far in P11, almost made it into P10 in the first race, and has already made up 1 spot as well from P12 on the grid. These guys are really duking it out right now. Michael Pedersen wanted to be calm and collected in the start, but calculated aggressiveness was going to be his main agenda. He's in P6 right now, made it up from P10, and a good steady climb from Ardennes.
Yeah, indeed, and it's been great to follow. He's just hanging back behind Hebra here into the bus stop. Very, very close. All the way through. And let's see him behind here. You can see Ardennes on the outside of Greg Franks. And Franks... It's the other way around. It's Franks looking to gain the position here into La Source. Let's see if James Hopton's going to be up to
in the background there.
Look at that Nelson Ignacio coming on the inside there as well. Going for the very late move. Here's Paul Cook.
Oh, looking too wide. I was going to make a quick point about Sam Baxter. I think he was the driver with the damage in the front end before the race started as well.
Yeah.
So going back to that quickly, as we're then back again with Michael Pedersen, who is on the move right now. If I've ever seen confidence in a racing driver, it's now with Michael Pedersen here making a move past Seb Herbert.
Herbert just decides with himself. I think there's just no reason to fight Michael Pedersen. He knows what kind of pace the Dane is sitting on from the sprint race. And Herbert is a very intelligent driver.
For the lead.
Oh, a battle for the lead as well as Edward May is going through. Where is he? He's
Oh,
gone.
too wide.
He's gone deep and he might. Oh, he's swinging back across. Is he going to make it?
He's got the inside.
He does, Edward May. That's an incredible move.
Looking back here as well, Paul Gosling, the two Pauls, battle of the Pauls then coming into Pouhon. Oh, late on the break there for Edward. As long as he got that inside for Speaker's Corner, he was safe basically.
Yeah, here
Ran
we go.
wide there, 26.
That was exceptionally late on the brakes. But it sort of seemed like, I don't think it was planned, but like a fine jazz musician indeed, Edward May, with the improvisational skills to find his way out of it. Look at Paul King, Paul Gosling, Andrew Lovesey, and Michael Pedersen. It's all a train forming up behind the Ignium car, and Edward May currently extending his advantage. Sam Baxter trying to hang on to the rear end of Seb Habra, who's 4/10 off of this one. Michael Pedersen's going to send it immediately, I believe, knowing the Dane he's not going to have the
on as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because he knows he has the confidence to do so. Look at this. He just goes in, goes through. Picks it off on the curbing, and it's another position gain for Michael Pedersen. He's having to defend
Herber in the back.
going up the inside there on Herber. I think so. Thinks twice a bit. Mike just a bit of look there, but it looked like a big old look indeed here. Michael Pedersen up into 4th place, and I think Edward May is going to need every second he can gain, while Pedersen and the rest of the well, those coming from behind, having started there around 10th place.
Not even a scratch on that 7 car. Keep that in mind. He has been making moves from 10th place. He's in 4th right now. And he hasn't even been close to any other cars except for the times he's been close in proximity, but he hasn't hit anyone.
Here's Greg Franks getting past on John Barnes. And he sets his eyes on the next target up ahead, which is the car of Will Hunt. Greg Franks, no way out of it, still able to pick up points. Here's Paul Gosling, gets very close to the car of Andrew Lovesey, and he gets past. Or is it the other way around? No, that's correct for once.
Yep.
And
in the back.
in the back here as well, you can see Sam Baxter and Chris Warner, both of them very, very close now. You mentioned one of those Fury cars picking up a bit of damage there on the opening. We can see that is indeed the car of Sam Baxter, as you mentioned before. Chris Warner will be getting a little held up here. I think Edward May mentioned at some point that the Fury Sim Sports drivers are not in any way having any kind of team orders going there, racing one another fair and square, which is what we've seen so far as well. Here's Greg Franks, who's closing in on Will Hunt, and this could be a fight to watch because Will Hunt is not an easy man to pass here. He gets a little bit of a poor run out of Pujon though, and it's into Malmedy with the Franks. Franks trying to look around the outside there, not being a possibility, but very, very close racing between these couple of cars here. It is a big train forming up behind Will Hunt. And it's a hunt going on for Hunt at the moment, and they've caught him, but they haven't been able to get past.
As long as he blocked that exit from Greg Franks, I think he could be safe going into Blanchimont. But these guys have a huge slipstream now as we go back again to P2 now. Paul King, who is very exposed to the Danish 7 driver. Michael Pedersen, our race 1 winner.
And here's an overtake that we didn't see before. Michael Pedersen.
He's past Paul King as well.
Yeah, and he's now past Paul King indeed, which we're going to have to see on the replay as well. With a move into the bus stop, Michael Pedersen, 8 places gained in the space of 3 laps.
Is that a lock up there for Edward May? There was some smoke coming into the chicane there.
It could have been a little bit of a blink. I don't think it was a lock up with the ABS, unless he's running a diminished ABS setting on his setup.
I think Chris Warner must be furious right now, bringing the name and Fury into his race right now. He started in P9. He was a spot in front of Pedersen, but he's lagging behind. He's P8. He's only made up 1 spot since the start of this race, while his rival in P2 currently 8 spots, and he's challenging Edward May for the race lead as well.
Michael Pedersen looks to really put himself back in the championship winning contention with a result like this. And a double race win or something that could just even come close to it, he would take a huge leap up in the standings indeed, given... oh, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's a 200-point gain that we were talking about. Oh, somebody crashed as well. I could hear it in the back.
James Hopton has gone off earlier. We're going to see what happened here. He gets net-coded by one of the Fury cars, and it's a big traffic jam indeed as he escapes across the sausage curb. And we have had another problem as well for Nelson Ignacio and Jeremy the Boover, I think, here. And could this have been the same situation? Yes, indeed.
Oh, huge bottleneck then for these cars trying to get past the wrecked car. But not enough, or not a lot of damage here for the other guys, so relatively unscathed, most of them. These 2 guys, though, the 75 and the 58 Hasse, these guys have been really at it.
And Chris Warner has gotten past on Sam Baxter as well. Oh, and there's been a problem here for John Barnes, I'm afraid.
Retirement already then for the 777.
Paul Cook may be involved as well. Let's see what happens to Paul Cook here. First of all, that's John Barnes. And he's going to hit him.
Oh. Yeah.
He thought at the sim for a moment there thought they were going to make contact with one another. I don't think they actually did. Let's see what happened to John Barnes. Just get turned around by Oscar Wilkins, I think.
Looks
And
like he tries to
he
get...
get hit by someone afterwards. Here, Oscar Wilkins has gone off track as well.
Oscar has had an absolutely atrocious race so far,
been
having
a
to retire the
indeed.
first one.
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Here's John Barnes in the pits. Remember, they do have a fast repair here. Now looking at the advantage, Michael Pedersen gained half a second on Edward May on the last lap alone. Now out on lap 4 we are here, 10 minutes into, or on lap 5, I'm sorry. Having completed 4 laps. And Pedersen gaining with the fastest lap of the race as well. Almost a second faster than Paul King on the last lap alone, and he's really gaining on everyone at the moment. And all the competitors that could be up there perhaps with Michael on pace are being held up still in the traffic. Michael Pedersen has done a brilliant job to clear himself of the traffic, and with the skills he's put on display here tonight, Markus, I think we should start referring to him as the Michael, because it's been brilliant indeed, and it's been some of the best driving we've seen so far this series. Here comes Bart Boland up the inside though of Manchanten and Buon. Oh, gets a wiggle there mid corner, might open it for Luke Schneider there and behind in the 150.
Flashing his lights. Oh, and he hit that bump on the entry or the exit of Puhan there, which is basically a car killer. If you hit that the wrong spot at the wrong speed, you will be sent into a tire barrier or the opposite side of traffic.
So look at this here. Bart Boland goes for the inside. And do they make this? Oh, there he gets a little bit of an oversteer. Oh, a wiggle there. He catches it on the brakes. But it causes him...
I think that's just from taking that shorter line there for stressing the tires even more, and then blocking the 150 car as well. Luke Schneider, who's not very happy about that, speaking Dutch with his headlights. Definitely some cursives coming out of him.
Yeah, there'll be some Godverdomme and the likes coming from the Dutch car.
I do have some information on Michael Pedersen and Edward May. I know Edward was a little upset, I think, after the first lap incident, even though it's a racing deal when it comes to having contact in the opening lap, and especially with cold tires and low pressures. He seemed very reluctant with how Michael was racing him in the opening lap, so this could be a very tough fight for P1.
Yeah, let's see how Edward May is going to fight it out. But there could be a point to be made as well that Edward May maybe just wants to pick up as many points as he can. And he might be better off not fighting Michael Pedersen too hard, because they could end up losing a lot of time to the drivers behind. The gap is still not comfortable. Michael Pedersen put in a new fastest lap on the lap that was just done. 2:18.28. And for reference, Paul King did a 2:19.5. Andrew Lufsey did a 2:20.1. Paul Gosling as well in the 2:20s. Chris Warner 2:19.5 as well.
But Boland
has been off, and he's been off for a long time. I'm afraid it's going to be quite a big one here. It's going to be in Malmedy as he just clips the outside. And into the tire barrier he goes, and he's dragged into it, having to go into reverse.
Hooked the tire wall as well with the left side.
Yeah, indeed. Back on track, but it's been a tough one as well for Bart Boland. Currently sitting in 18th place. And look at how Michael Pedersen is just closing the gap consistently to Edward May at the moment.
Greg Franks as well up to 11th now, Hasse. So he's trying to make gains in the championship right now. The 99 behind the P1 in bronze so far. This is quite a race from Luke Schneider. It's almost like I want to say he's maybe rented someone out, some Formula E driver has done. Oh, he's completely out. Yeah, spun it in Puhan and hit the tire barrier. This is what happens when the car goes backwards with the ABS. If you brake at 100% rate, these tires will not lock or slow down at all. The ABS will work against you, and you will basically hit everything that's behind you.
Now here comes... Oh, sorry. Yeah, the fight between Luke Schneider and Greg Franks really heating up here. I just have to say, Luke Schneider, what a race he pulled off in the sprint race. And he's really defending well for himself so far up ahead. The gap still around a second between Edward May and Michael Pedersen. And then from positions 3 through, 5, 6, 7, it's still very close here, actually. We could see some interesting racing developing in this fight here. Greg Franks, I think he has a very good chance on getting the run on Luke Schneider this time around.
Has to wait though.
Home advantage for the Belgian. Yeah, he has to wait. He has to get a good run here from Radion and then take the car ahead on the Kemmel Straight. And he's so close, he should be able to do it before Lecomte, which is what he'll hope. But just saying that, Schneider gets the better run. And Greg Franks, although he was very close, isn't really able to claw in the space.
Oh, Seb Herbert, he is off. You can see him there in the background.
Here you have a look at it. Oh, he makes contact with the 58 car. He spins around. Oh, my word, as the Ignium car just manages to get around.
Nilsman Schaden there. Avoiding incident. A huge crash, but made it out alive. And well,
And there he
it said that he
comes.
crashed on their event here, but he hasn't hit anything as far as I know. Or hasn't been hit either, so rather harmless spin there. But it could have been much worse considering the 104 there, almost hitting him. Greg Franks then up to P10. Back again to Luke Schneider, though. He has to be a driver who's going to sleep well tonight after this performance. A really, really good showing from the Holy Cow driver, who's now lost a spot to Greg Franks for 9th.
Good move here from Sam Baxter on the 42 car to gain 6th place overall.
Very good, yeah.
And then Greg Franks got past. Oh, that was on Herbera. This one is on Luke Schneider. Here he comes. And that is in Leforge.
Oh, Pedersen is in the pit.
Michael Pedersen into the pits. An early stop for Pedersen perhaps here. Oh no, he isn't. That's just when you go. That's when you go. That's like when you're driving. Do you use crew chief?
But he's all the way up into the rear end of the 107 right now.
It's
These
when you
guys
use.
are
It's like.
geeking out.
It's when you exit on the real limit there of Blanchemont. There's a bit of a mistake that it's warning you that you're coming into the pits and that you have to mind the pit speed limit as well if you're using crew chief.
He's out for blood though. He's out for blood. He's right in the rear end of the 107 right now, and I think that's going to be an upset Edward May if something happens between these two.
But I think he's got a good run here, Michael Pedersen.
Oh, look at
He's
this.
closing the gap quickly indeed. Edward Mays goes to the very inside. Here comes Pedersen. He's going to try the late break on Edward May. Really last of the late breakers. Mays is having none of it.
Oh, this is going to be a tough fight for both of them, I think. None of these guys are going to give between the doors.
No, Michael Pedersen has to force the move in a way that Edward May cannot defend it. He has to get himself such a good run that he leaves Edward May no chance of defending. Because I think if Edward May gets the chance to shut the door on Michael Pedersen, he will do so, as we just saw before. You will not give him an inch of space if he can avoid so. But they have to be careful. It could easily end in tears. Here's Chris Warner is trying to get past Andrew Lofsey as well. He's close, but not close enough at the moment.
Not to jinx anything between the two here, but it's looking very, very good for Paul King at the moment. Our pole sitter, who's now currently in P3. These guys are getting intimate with each other. They're not afraid of some door banging as well. Both of these guys being really aggressive and on the edge all the time. Probably some of the most fun drivers in this series for sure, in terms of the closeness of racing anyways.
Yeah, these are two drivers that has really provided us with some great entertainment here over the opening 4 weeks of racing. We've got 8 weeks. It's been since it's bi-weekly racing. So it's a little bit of a deep run there from Edward. But look at Michael Pedersen on the brakes into the bus stop. So late indeed. But Edward May gets a great exit. And that could hamper Pedersen on the next lap.
Oh, what happened with Warner there in the back?
Warner and Lofsey just did a bit of a switcheroo here. I think Chris Warner tried to pull the move, but he didn't get the run there. Andrew Lofsey with a really good run on the outside, really carrying the speed and being able to stay ahead. With that, pit stop's actually happening at the moment. So a few drivers choosing to pit early could be because of the traffic that they're sitting at the moment, and they could might well be feeling that they'd be able to go faster on their own and maybe able to undercut the opposition. Of course, we've got less than 30 minutes remaining now. Just over 25, by the way.
Gjesdal looking at the inside of the 88. I think this is going to stick for sure. Coming into a much harder braking zone and a more favorable line for the 88 and the 75, I mean. Oh, on the 7 and the 107 at least. These guys are duking it out. Edward is back, or is mirror driving Michael Pedersen for sure right now. Taking away his slipstream and taking away the dirty air as soon as he can to try and make life as difficult for the Danish driver as possible.
Yeah, he'll be doing what he can, but it's a long time he still has to defend, and he'll be... Also, Michael Pedersen being behind, he can kind of decide to go in at a point where Edward May doesn't. And that could actually be a good idea for Michael to do so. But I think Edward May is going to push things to the limit on his pit stop, trying to gain as much time as he possibly can in that instance.
Yeah, I think Pedersen for sure is the stronger of the two drivers right now. Edward is going to be in trouble for a short while as we're getting closer to the midway of this race. Lap 9 then, about to enter lap 10 of this feature race. Really good here on the exit of Blanchimont here for Pedersen. Look at Edward May now trying to fend off. He's going to go for the dive here, isn't he, Edward? Or I mean, Michael. At least looking for it.
He's looking at... Yeah, but every time, every corner he's trying to have a look. Every opportunity he's trying to have a look. But Edward May has been infallible so far. He hasn't been able to really pull Edward May out of his stride, it seems. And so far, it's still the Brit ahead of the Dane. Then it's 5 Englishmen, 5 Brits indeed, at least. Paul King, Chris Warner, Andrew Lofsy, Sam Baxter, and Paul Gosling. 3rd through 7th. Then Nils Manchanden in 8th. Greg Franks up into 9th place. He started 16th, so he's had a great recovery so far already this race. And he could pick up some very important points here. Luke Schneider, 10th overall.
Look at the front. Edward May, Michael Pedersen. Michael Pedersen's actually passed on the timing loop. They're door to door. Banging doors coming into Lake Holm. And this is going to be tight for the two drivers. And Edward May disappears into the shadow realm for a second as well. As Michael Pedersen is in front. He's in front of Edward May. And that move for the race lead. And Edward May flashing his lights in disbelief. They can't believe it. Michael Pedersen making his way, barging past him in Lake Holm. And then Malmedy. What a move for first place, Hasse.
Yeah, great racing here within the limits of what's okay. Slight touches here and there, but that's what we like to see. The cars just about fine, both of them, and both of the drivers getting through this safely indeed. And Edward May might be feeling hard done by, but he's been defending with everything he's got as well. And at some point he's gonna have to expect Michael Pedersen to make the move. The Dane really must be felt that he's getting ever so slightly held up, and you can see the gap is actually springing up as well. It's just around half a second now here as Chris Warner is getting very close to Paul King as well. And Chris Warner could be able to get in the mix with the front runners as well here over the last around 20 minutes of this race. Let's see if he gets a move on Paul King this time around here. Chris Warner looking towards the outside of Blanchimont. He's going to wait till the bus stop. He's very, very close indeed. And speaking of camera angles that I love, Markus, when you get down on the curb through Blanchimont, that one is just great indeed. Now into the bus stop goes Chris Warner and up into 3rd place.
He has learned his lesson there, taking the wider line on the exit of the bus stop. So no worries from Paul King then, wanting to defend. I think this is going to be favoring Michael Pedersen this race so far. He is the stronger man on track. He is currently a lot faster than the guy in P2 he's currently racing. Last lap was a 2:19.2, and that was also with the pass for the lead. So once you start fighting, we all know this, especially as active motorsport enthusiasts. As long as you start fighting, that's how you lose time. And if you can stay single file and we work together, that's how you'll be able to gain on the guys behind. So a door opening up then for the guys in the back here if they can start finding some more pace on Edward May.
Yeah, very much so, but he's gained Michael Pedersen, you can see, and on the last lap he was a second faster than Edward May. That means he's gained that 0.8 of a second gap on a single lap indeed here. James Hopton having a bit of a fight, I think, with Greg Franks at the moment, which we're going to have a look at instantly. Oh, that's, of course, Franks leaving the pits, and James Hopton there on the outside. As they're going to go side by side, Hopton's going to go through, indeed. That might have looked a little more dramatic than it turned out to be. Here's Paul King, 5th place at the moment. And
Chasing Sam Baxter's lost 4 places now since the start of this race. Our pole sitter.
And I'm just looking back through here now. Greg Franks is back in 17th place at the moment. But he's also the front-running car of those that have already had pit stops. Which means that he is the... well, he's in prime position to pick up a lot of positions when everybody comes into the pits. But he's in a bit of a problem now because he's just behind James Hopton. James Hopton has yet to make his pit stop. And James Hopton could be out for a few more minutes, taking away some essential laps for Greg Franks' undercut chances here. We're going to see how that plays out as it comes along here. He's getting closer and closer to the RLR Abruzzi Esports driver. Abruzzi Racewear, of course, the title sponsor of our series here as well. And a word of thanks to Abruzzi for making all this possible here. Chris Warner, Markus on this last lap, fastest lap of the race with a 2:18.1.
He is lighting it up right now, and so is Pedersen and May. May with a 2:18.6 last time around. Pedersen 2:18.58. These lap times are getting really, really close. I think the draft is favoring Edward May for sure. He was not as fast out front, probably looking in his mirror too much there, focusing on where Michael was going to be rather than where his lines were. But now that he has a target in front of him, he's going to go out there and chase him to the end of this race. Unless Chris Warner, of course, can have anything to say for the end of this race. Still a long way to go with a good amount of minutes remaining. Lap 12 now, almost 30 minutes. And a lot of these drivers, as you pointed out earlier as well, making their first stops. Greg Franks up to P14 now after a good bunch of people have been in their pits. Hasse in his 340 blue M4. Very iconic car.
Oh, here comes Franks on Nils Manchanten, I think, and he's going to go right past up the inside there and take another position. And James Hopton did go into the pits early enough, and Franks quickly passed here, and of course is going to help him out indeed. There's Michael Pedersen, Edward May, Markus doing a very, very good job of keeping up, and not only keeping up, but he's clawing back time on Michael Pedersen here.
Yeah, he is definitely in favor of having Pedersen in front of him, now that he can follow his lines in his draft. So May is not letting the Dane go yet, and I think he has something to say after the little skirmish on the top of Lake Hong earlier. We have a question here as well regarding Oscar Wilkins. And I am not sure if you have been following the first race, but we did have an incident involving Oscar Wilkins in the start, which ended up with Oscar in the pits with repairs. He is currently in 16 right now. He's made up 8 spots, so I don't think he's been in the pits yet. No, he has been in the pits once. So Oscar is on a mission now to try and make up some ground that he lost in the incident between himself and Bob Boland in race 1. And now, Hasse, we have a bunch of front runners in the pits.
We do have traffic in the pit lane. Paul King, Andrew Lovesey, St. Baxter, and Chris Warner all in. Let's see who comes out the best. Chris Warner is there. There's Sam Baxter is next up. He'll be having taken his fast repair, I think. Then Paul King might just be losing out here to Andrew Lovesey. Indeed. So a bit of a switcheroo between Andrew Lovesey and Paul King. And out ahead, Jeremy de Boever has had a good race so far. He's 4th, of course, having yet to do a pit stop. 25 seconds down on the leaders. We're here.
I think this is going to look a little scary for Nilsson Inacio as well. He had a 10-second pit which is 5 seconds faster than a bunch of guys here. So he might not be able to finish this race on fuel unless he can slipstream and draft a little bit from the car in front.
5 seconds of fuel is quite a lot, to be honest, and he could really be suffering with that one. I don't know if he's expecting to be doing a bunch of lifting and coasting there at the end of the straights into the braking zones. Could be. You never know. It's going to be a tough one indeed here. Now look at Greg Franks up into 10th place. He goes around. Greg, well, that's Hasse in front. He's trying to go around the outside of him, or at least looking to do so. He wants to get past quickly indeed, as he's finding his way back through the field. This is the 9th position he was in when he came into the pits, and there are still drivers ahead who have yet to make their pit stops, and whose positions Greg Franks indeed could be there to gain. Interesting.
Oh, there we go. Pedersen,
there we go. Pedersen coming in. Edward
did not hit the pit wall there, guys.
It's a dangerous pit entrance indeed. Oh, they have to be careful here. And that's what I said. Edward May risking it all on pit entrance. So close. So close indeed.
That was adaptive cruise control if I've ever seen it from Edward May. I don't think he even touched Michael Pedersen there.
I think you're
I'd
right.
like to say something about Hassan as well. His number 340 car, currently first place in bronze as well. I really like the chrome details on the grille of that car. And I don't think he's part of any teams here or a grouping in the series, that's being said. And May, really late here on the exit off the pits, and they're about the same on stop times. There's a few tenths difference between Michael Pedersen and May, and that really comes to play when they're exiting the pits.
Yeah, the pit time altogether, 0.6 of a second separating them in the pit lane. Or on the pit stop, and then on the pit lane time altogether, it's about 0.8 of a second between the two. So Arafak into the pits now, as well as Jeremy de Boever.
Oh, look at the back here. This number 75. Chris Warner getting ever closer to the guys in front here, and he was in the midpoint between Edward May and Michael Pedersen. He had a 14.6 on his stop. So pretty close. I think all these three are going to make it fight on fuel, and we only have less than 15 minutes left of this race, unless we can get another extra lap before the 45 mark.
Yeah, indeed. Pepin, welcome in chat. Oscar Wilkins has not had the best of luck tonight. Let's be honest about it. He's had his pit stop and a fast repair earlier on in the race, but he's finding his way back now from 10th place. Mind you, he also had a very, very tough time indeed in the sprint race here. And this is Greg Franks, by the way. He's gotten past now. And he'll be looking at gaining further positions all the way up into 8th place. And fair play on Greg Franks. Been a good one indeed. Now I'm just looking. See, was this the pass made by him? No. And so it seems it happened some time ago, actually. So it's going to be too far away for me to really do anything about Michael Pedersen, though. However, look at this, Markus. 1.5 seconds up on Edward May as we're closing in on the final 10 minutes of racing here. But you just have to say Edward May has really risen to the challenge in this feature race. And he's risen to the challenge of Michael Pedersen putting the pressure on the Dane in the way that I don't necessarily think we were expecting him to be able to, given the pace that we saw him have before and while being caught by Michael Pedersen. But he was defending hard, he was defending brilliantly indeed, but a very, very good battle. And another blink there for Edward May. It's not the first time we've seen it tonight. And here's Sepp Haber on Luke Schneider, and I think he might get it done this time around with a better run on the outside. Schneider though, great.
Look at that, 3 wide almost there.
Oh!
He was looking at it. The car in the back there, Paul Cook, 85. He wanted to make that gap a little wider to fit himself, but didn't do it. Seb Herber has the inside there for the exit of La Source and will gain the spot. The 85 now looking very racy, coming down towards Erouge.
But Sepp Herber here, Markus, 12th place for him here in the feature race. He cannot be happy with this.
Yeah, and this has to be huge implications for him as well, considering the fact that Michael Pedersen might be looking at a double win today. That's 200 points in the championship, and that's going to make a lot of bang for him, considering the next few rounds.
Well, here comes Schneider with the return move, at least an attempt to. And you have to give it. Luke Schneider does not care who he's going up against. He's fighting them all, and it's been great to see. He's been holding out great track positions. And he's still leading bronze for the second consecutive race. Bart Daleman with the official Seb Hebera fan club has arrived. The president of the Seb Hebera fan club, should we mind? Go Seb.
I hope he closed his eyes when Seb was spinning out in Le Comp earlier this race. I know at least a tear was shed there. Making gains again though. Seb Herbert, maybe Sebring, which is the track we're going to go in 2 weeks' time, is going to be a better choice for the German. I know there's going to be some German flags at the home of Bart Daleman as well. He's cheering for his favorite driver.
Oh, a bit of a touchy moment there for Paul Cook in the Fury car here, the 85 machine. Now, speaking of Sebring, I think Sebring is going to provide us with some very, very good racing. Sebring, a personal favorite of mine. As a driver's track and also as a track to race on. Plenty of opportunities to overtake, and here another opportunity for Paul Cook, who I think gets a very good run here on Luke Schneider, who's on the outside through the source. He's been there before. He doesn't want to be there again.
Look at James Holt. Look at James Holt. He's got a huge run here after the overtake from the 85, and he tries to go the long right. We've seen this time and time again. The outside line usually wins on the exit here.
And it's for the lead.
Oh, look at Luke. Look at Luke. He's going to go to the inside here for La Sorts. And yeah, you're right. This is for the lead in bronze. So Luke really has to turn the tempo up right now to try and get this first place. Ooh, very close here between Hall and Schneider for sure.
A great battle developing for the lead in the bronze class. Now just going to run you through the top 10 as it stands. It's Michael Pedersen by just about 2 seconds down to Edward May, and Chris Warner just 1.5 seconds down on his teammate there for Fury Sim Sports. And you wouldn't believe it, it's a third Fury car as well in 4th place here with Andrew Lovesey 5th, Paul King in 6th place, and Paul Gosling 7th. Greg Franks up into 8th place at the moment. That's impressive in its own right, given that he started 16th on the grid. Nils Manchanten 9th, and Oscar Wilkins, who's gained 14 positions as well, to be in 10th place at the moment.
The SimRacingLoft.com Volante Racing team has made huge gains this entire race. Both of these guys really building up anticipation. Looking forward to what they can do in 2 weeks' time when they're at Sebring. And I reckon we'll get some tracks for you as well in that period. I can't promise anything. I'll probably get a smack on my finger if I say this too much by Ian. But I reckon we'll get some information regarding the next 3 rounds as soon as we get around the schedule of Season 2.
Yeah, indeed. That as soon as we know, it's going to be posted as well for all to see. And look at the chrome details on the nostrils of Hasse and Arafak's car. I very much like that detail. The nostrils on the BMW M4 have indeed been widely criticized. Although I think they've been growing on people because they can't get much larger. But my point was not the joke that I just set myself up for there. That just came along. My point was the fact that he's actually painted the nostrils sort of chrome around the edges. And that seems to highlight him very well. It's a nice piece of makeup there on the blue BMW of Hasse and Arafak. James Hunt.
Good homage to the older cars, the older models. But I actually still prefer this car with a smashed up front end. And an imaginary E39 grille from 2004.
Yes.
Back then to 7th place, the 42 of Paul Gosling, which is in shot now, passing the crowd down the Camel Straight into Lake Comp. He has Gregory Franks behind him for 7th. This is a fight that is going to be charging up, and I think Greg has one agenda, and that's to make up that spot on get up into P7. Massive climber for this race. Oh, this is very, very close between the two.
Oh, it's a blink. It's a blink. But Will Hunt has gone past on Luke Schneider here, which is something we'd like to see. And is it gonna be a late braking move there from Will Hunt? Brilliant braking there to move through on the outside. And Luke Schneider, he might have exhausted himself by battling.
There.
I think it's
Stuff
it's Ed May blinking, I'm afraid, because they're still 0.6 of a second from one another.
Oh, look at this comment here as well from Carsten. When I was making the all-out delivery, the main thing to focus on was to try and make the grill look as small as possible. I think he succeeded with it.
Yeah, he did succeed. You can see with the green at the bottom, it really makes it shrink in a way. And kudos, Carsten, to the liveries on the simracinglove.com Volante racing machines. They are beautiful indeed. Now look here, Greg Franks in the H Motorsports car, the 99 car, really getting close here on the 42 of Paul Gosling, and he's up through on the inside into the bus stop. No defense whatsoever there for Gosling to be made, and Greg Franks up into 7th place.
Oh, he's coming back again though. We had a better exit.
Yeah, but he's
Had a
2.5
oversteer.
tenths off still. I don't think he's gonna get...
think he's gonna try. He's gonna try, I'm sure. Coming into T1. Oh, I thought he was gonna lunge in the inside as Ed May did on lap 3 of the sprint race.
Well, he's indeed shown the way, hasn't he, Ed May here, as Luke Schneider gets very close with Ben Wellen. And
He's
a bit of a...
falling like a rock right now.
Yeah, Luke Schneider, what's happening here? It's a bit of a shame. He might have overcooked his tires over here, and it's a bit of a blinky moment. And that might have explained it, for a bit at least. Now, Edward May is getting more and more under pressure. But we're also into the last 4 minutes of racing here, and we've seen Edward defend. We know he can indeed defend. But it's a teammate behind him, and you're wondering here just how hard he's wanting to defend from Chris Warner. One thing they certainly don't want to do is taking one another out here at the very final stages of the race here, the teammates.
That's the first rule of racing. Do not crash into your teammate. First unspoken rule of racing, that is. Not an actual rule written anywhere. But you do that, the briefing after the race is going to be mighty awkward. And it's going to overview a lot of the issues that you perhaps want to talk about instead of actually talking about a crash between your teammates. So the 75 and the 107 have to skirmish this out carefully without hitting one each other.
Heber and De Boever close to one another at the moment in a fight for 10th place overall. That's a position that Seb Heber should very much like to take. And here he comes with the move. That's a late breaking one. To the force, but De Boever, look at that. He's holding on to it. Brilliant defending from the Belgian. He has had a much better race than he did in the sprint race this time around, and is holding on to a 10th place overall. 3rd in silver, that is.
Home race advantage then for Jeremy. I think that was a move for Bart there by Seb. Wanted to get by in the campus complex. As we switch back again to these guys for 2nd place, it's Edward May and Chris Warner. Edward May was quick trip to the Shadow Realm again. So what are your bets here, Hasse? What do you think is going to get past? Is Edward going to be able to stick to 2nd, or is Chris going to be able to get up into 2nd himself?
The Boover goes late here. I'm just going to cover this one before I answer your question, Markus, because Seb Heber has taken 10th place, and there might be an opportunity for the 85 car as well. The Fury car is coming on the outside.
The dummy? Is it the dummy? Is it the dummy? Oh, he's going to try it, isn't he? Oh, he squeezes past there on the outside.
I think he gets the exit, though. Oh, they touch! They touch on the exit, and the 40 car keeps it of Jeremy De Boever here ahead of Paul Cook. A little bit surprised to see that didn't work out. A little trading paints having to be applied from De Boever. To answer your question, then, I think we've already had that question answered, because Chris Warner has gotten past
look at that.
on Edward May here.
Yeah. And very nice to each other. Courteous. Trying not to make life difficult. Oh, I'm mistaken.
So you say, but they make a huge bit of contact to one another.
I'll take that back immediately, thanks. A refund, full refund. I want everything, including my tip.
Well, that's what
75
commentating is, Markus. It's making out prophecies that immediately turn out to be wrong. At least that is according to the legend that is Murray Walker. Here is Paul Cook now on the tail of Jeremy de Bouver. He very much likes to come through here as well. He's coming on the inside now. He's going to try it down towards Pouhon. And is it going to work? Well, we've seen it work. We've also seen it not work plenty of times this time around. I think Paul Cook just about squeezes through and able to use the track there at the midpoint of the double left-hander, and as such, able to take the corner. And if you're not able to...
Look at the 68 as well, going for the lunge there in the back.
That's the E-Brit car of James Hall, the leader in bronze for this race, who's done a brilliant race so far, the 68 car. Ben Llewellyn second in bronze as well at the moment, and Luke Schneider third. Just for rounding off the different classes, it's Andrew Lovesey leading silver ahead of Paul Gosling and Nils Mann Schanten at the moment.
I was going to say, this track is big enough for very, very sharp elbows. So, or elbows, as it's said, pronounced correctly in the English language. Getting a little bit of Norwegian in my English there as well. It's that hour of the time as we're crossing the line with 45 minutes on the clock, which means this is going to be the last lap of this second race, which has been my favorite round so far in this championship.
It's been brilliant so far, it really has. And it's also been one where we've seen relatively few heavy incidents. We've seen a few, they've been there. But it's not been anything that's really ruined the racing, at least not for that many drivers. And in turn, it's allowed the racing to be very competitive, hard at times. But we've seen some frantic racing at times here, and some long side-by-side battles, some real door-to-door racing, which we love to see indeed. And at the very end of it here, Michael Pedersen is looking to pick up 2 out of 2 here at Spa, which is going to put him right back in the championship mix in a very good position indeed.
I think the driving he did in the start of this race is what is putting him in this position. I think he's very much likely to win this race as well. He's got almost 2 seconds back to the 75 of Chris Warner, and I think
he's got more. He's got 4 seconds.
Oh yeah. There's no way that he's going to make a pass there, Chris Warner, unless Michael Pedersen decides to visit the tire barrier on the exit of Blanchimont, which I think is very unlikely for the Dane. So that margin that he built up in the start, I think that's what really made the margin stick in the end of the stage of this race, and has potentially won this race.
Indeed. Very much so. So as you can see at the top of the screen, your class leaders, gold, silver, and bronze. Pedersen, Lovesey, and James Hall as well, who's in your picture at the moment, challenging Jeremy de Bouver this last time around. But it's Michael Pedersen who picks up the checkered flag for a second time in a row here at Spa. Impressive indeed from the Dane, weighing ahead of Chris Warner and his teammate Edward May, the third gold Fury Sim Sports car of Sam Baxter gets fourth ahead of Andrew Lovesey. And Paul King, who's just gonna finish ahead of Greg Franks. He does so not by a lot. And Paul Gosling gets 8th place in the end ahead of Nils Mann Schanten. And who is that behind? That is Seb Herbera picking up 10th place here.
Celebrating that 10th place as well, and I think that's deserved after that incident that he had with none other than himself. But he did make gains and got back up to the P10. I think he's going to be happy with that.
And James Hall taking the win in bronze. Of course, Andrew Lovesey, 5th overall. That did pick up the...
I think he wanted to be in the picture there.
The silver win. Yeah, he did. Oh, that was a good photo bomb there in the middle. Just come, hey guys, hey!
Photo crash more than a bomb.
Yeah, indeed. Although dive bomb, photo bomb,
it's a bomb.
It's a bomb. It's that time of the evening, indeed, Markus. It's we're about to round it off here. We've got some interviews to make with the drivers, the top 3 at least. And I think we're just about to have everyone across the line, except for a few unlucky runners here. Bart Boland. Certainly a race to forget for him. Philip Hubley, I think the same. That's the that's don't drink your drink car. The H Motorsports. That's great indeed here. Nelson Ignacio hasn't had a great race either. You reckon that's because he was about to run out of fuel? He hasn't been in for us. Oh, I'm sorry. He has been in for a second time, and I do think that was because he was about to run out of fuel. Here's Mark Lewis as the last car crosses the line. I believe, Markus, that we have results. Results, I said. Oh, yes, results! Michael Pedersen takes the win for SimRacingLove.com Volante Racing ahead of the Fury Sim Sports trio of Chris Warner, Edward May, and Sam Baxter. The Ignium Motorsports duo of Andrew Lovesey and Paul King. And then leading the championship into this race, but I'm not sure he'll do so coming out of it, Greg Franks for H Motorsport. In the 99 car, then Paul Gosling and Nils Manchanten. Seb Herberer leaving and rounding off the top 10 with Paul Cook 11th, Jeremy De Boer in 12th, and James Hall, first of the bronze drivers, in 13th. Ahead of Will Hunt, Ben Llewellyn, Oscar Wilkins, Luke Schneider, and Dirk Reski. I have to wonder if Oscar Wilkins had some additional bad luck at the later stages of the race. No, he didn't, but he had 2 pit stops, which, of course, explains the lost positions at the end. Anyway, Luke Schneider, Dirk Reski, Hasse, Arafak. Bradley Brockis gets 20th ahead of Philip Hobley, Bud Boland, Nelson Inacio, Mark Lewis, James Hopton. And in 26th place, 16 laps down. It's been a tough one for John Barnes. But what a race, Markus, indeed. An amazing one we've seen here at Spa. And amazing indeed. We'll hop right into the interview side of things. And I've got a fellow Dane here with me, Michael Pedersen. Michael, a double win, sprint and feature. It's going to be a first off in this series. It's something we haven't seen before. Congratulations. And what an amazing race in the feature race here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I'm just absolutely thrilled that I was able to break the feature race curse for everybody out here. So hopefully we can see a few more guys doing sort of the same. Hopefully myself, of course. But yeah, no, it was an awesome race. I felt like I took my time passing guys and waited for the most opportune moments. Of course, having to get by Edward is always tough. He's really hard at defending, really good at defending and putting his car at the right place. But yeah, I was just so happy and definitely happy that Warner didn't catch me because I knew what way that would be going.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, I'm definitely thrilled about this result.
That's good to hear, Michael. Also, I feel it's been coming throughout the season with your performances has been really good, but maybe a little too inconsistent. And this certainly oozes of consistency. We were certainly in the booth here amazed at your opening couple of laps there. Michael, you said controlled aggression, if I could recall correctly, last time we had a word with you, and that was some of the best controlled aggression I've ever seen. Yeah,
I mean, we had our Volante Racing BMW was super fast on the straight, which just gave me all the confidence to do some a bit more daring maneuvers because I knew I would have a huge toe coming out of turn 1, Les Source coming up through Arus and Radion. So it was just awesome to have the feeling of passing guys like that without too much contact. There's just such a great race all in all, for sure.
Michael, I'm gonna let you off and let you celebrate a double win here in the correct fashion. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout out to this time around?
Definitely. Once again, gonna shout out my team, Volante Racing, and our sponsor, amazing sponsor, Sim Racing Love, for all the great content that they make. Should definitely check them out.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. Congratulations on 2 wonderful performances here.
Thank you so much.
For me, that was the performances of the season so far. We'll have to see if anyone can surpass what you've done here tonight, but it's certainly impressive.
I hope I can manage it anyways. Do another one.
We'll have to well, be my guest. It was entertaining, to say the least, and great to have you along. Thanks for the chat, and hope to see you again in 2 weeks after Secret.
Definitely. Hope so.
So that was Michael Pedersen, and I'm gonna hop off, or I'm not gonna hop off yet. I'm gonna carry on to a driver that had quite a fight with the aforementioned Michael Pedersen in this race. Edward May, or to throw in a bit of a Monty Python reference, Eddie Baby.
Do not
Tell us-
call me.
Tell us
Eddie
about
Baby.
your latest film, Sir Edward. Please. No,
Mate, that
Edward
was
May,
a
third place.
blockbuster, to be fair.
I'm sorry for bringing chaos and fire and destruction here to the interviews with Monty Python references and such. Edward May, third place here at Spa in the feature race. How do you feel about that?
I mean, to be fair, you weren't too far off with that being a film, because that was a blockbuster race, wasn't it? It was really intense at the front. I was hoping to actually start on the front row of the grid, finish the race in 9th position. But it didn't work out, but I had to really put the pressure on as well. I was trying into the first corner, didn't quite work out, lost the rear, but then fighting through the field. Oh, it's just a brilliant race, and as well, this evening's actually gone surprisingly well for me, considering sort of the start I got in race 1.
And in terms of the championship now, it's been a tough race for both Greg Franks and Seb Hebera, picking up relatively limited points for both races, which could really aid you in the long run. Now we're coming into the halfway point of the season. You're still very much in with a shout. What are your perspectives on the second half of the season here?
Well, I'm trying to be a bit more, I guess, realistic coming into it. I know that Chris, he missed the round at Imola and also missed a round at Silverstone. So I think those are going to be his 2 drop rounds. And from the other 2 rounds, both what was it, Alton Park and, well, just now Spa, he's been rapid. He's won, well, I think he came first once and then second at Alton and then second twice. So with the drop rounds coming into effect, I reckon Chris is probably going to win. I'll be happy to settle for second, make it 3-1-2 at the top.
We'll have to see just how that goes. And I'm sorry we're running out of time here, but congratulations on another solid podium finish here in the feature race. And before we let you off the interview hook here in the commentary booth, a place you do know well, to be fair, is there anyone you would like to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Of course, yeah, yourself, Hasse, and Markus, you guys put on a great show on the broadcast, and it's always fun watching back. I'm looking forward to seeing that pass lap 7 on the first race, because that felt good in the car. I'm certain you two enjoyed it as well. And then, of course, Seb putting on the championship. He does a great deal of work behind the scenes, so credit to him. And then, of course, sponsors of the team at Midas Simulation.
Well, indeed. Edward May, third place finisher for tonight. That's going to round off the broadcast for tonight, ladies and gents. Thank you for tuning in with myself and Markus Gjesdal for tonight. It's been a pleasure having you all along, and do leave us a like. And remember to subscribe if you, of course, do feel like it. We've got plenty of great sim racing content in store for you in the coming weeks here on weeks, months, Lord knows years here on Simracersworld. But anyways, thank you so much for joining in. Indeed, also a last thanks to our sponsor, Abruzzi Racewear. You can find a link to their webpage in the description below. My name is Hasse Rømer. I've been with Markus Gjesdal, and it has been our absolute pleasure having you on for the SRW BMW Trophy rounds 7 and 8. As said before, we'll be back from this series in 2 weeks' time. We'll be going over there in the States. We'll be going to Sebring. It's going to be a great show indeed. So same time, same place in 2 weeks from now, and I hope to see you there. And until then, from us here at Simracersworld TV, take care, have fun, bye-bye.